Don't go in there. They're having the let's try to figure out what customers want meeting again. It's gotten a little weird.
Signups are strong, but adoption of key features remains stagnant. What do you do?
We gotta merge that PR. Yeah, we have to. That's our only choice. Okay. We cast merge on the PR for the new dashboard. Oh no.
Your actions have caused the company to go viral for the wrong reason.
God.
Oh no, what do we do?
Roll for initiative.
I can't.
New features shouldn't be left to a roll of the dice. Use DevCycle to ship with low risk and instant rollbacks. Unrolls, re-rolls.
How do we make this into a dice pun?
Hey, Kobe.
Hey, Parath, how's it going?
I'm all right. How are you? How are things?
Pretty good.
Oh, it's just the morning.
Yeah, it's morning. Yeah, still morning until we're done the stream, I guess. At least where we are. Stoked to be doing our second one of these this year.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm excited. Do you want to give a kind of overview of what we're doing today?
Yeah, for sure. I'm also playing around making sure we got some like background music.
All right.
But yes. Today, I think as the title shows, we're talking about all things testing with feature flags. So I think we want to run through a few things, right? I think we want to run through like what it would be like or how you go about doing automated testing with feature flags. How do you do kind of like code level validation? How do you do manual regression testing? So kind of trying to hit all those. See, I mean, we don't have to like hit everything if it takes us a while. I know we're trying to keep at least the recording on this down to an hour, but I think that's a question that we get often. I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, right? Especially once you get going pretty heavily with feature flagging, you got a lot of conditionals, you got a lot of different like code paths. I think people are just looking for recommendations on, what's like the best way to handle it. And I think we have to deal with this ourselves. Our customers have to deal with this. So yeah, I think we're stoked to get your thoughts on it.
Yes, exactly. I think you brought a good point of like testing and feature flags because I think there's like different ways of doing it, right? Like there's automated testing, like as you said, code level validation and manual like regression testing, and also just like even manual like testing with our self-targeting stuff. So that'll be kind of neat to kind of look into. I'm thinking this time we're just going to use a example, like our sample.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Example app, and then just kind of go through there and talk about what we would do differently.
Yep. Yeah, we can always, if you have or if relevant, maybe you can always like pull up like our actual like way we've structured things. But yeah, I think the sample apps are generally a pretty good place to start. Yeah, doesn't necessarily have to be like, I don't think it's necessarily like DevCycle specific anyways. All we're talking about is like the general concepts. But
That's
our
true.
Apps are pretty easy as opposed to.
Yeah, I think they're just like ready to go. So
yeah.
Let me share my screen.
Cool. Let's get it going.
All right. Okay, so that's up. All right, so where would someone find our example apps? And that's in our docs. In docs, there we have example, and then we have our lots of example apps here. But let's stick to. Let's do React.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah. All right.
React or JavaScript gives me at least me personally some ability to comment on things at the code level. Yeah, I don't know about any of the other ones.
That's fair. I think
other languages are a little bit limited.
Do you have React TypeScript? I was gonna check that.
Yeah, we should.
We do. Yeah.
We have React, and then we have it all with like open feature too, right? I think.
Exactly. All right, we're gonna go with React TypeScript just because we love type safety here. Words are hard today.
Do we love it?
Type safety, yes.
We love to hate it. I don't know.
No, I was actually, you know how the hackathon stuff that I was doing?
Yeah.
So kind of like some insight on what DevCycle was up to this week was we were doing this hackathon with open feature kind of approach on things, and something that I did was something that we have done on the stream, and that was the open feature doc service plugin. That was all written in JavaScript, and I'm just like, I don't know if I love this. It's there, but it would like I would see some like runtime errors, and I'm just like, TypeScript would have been nicer here.
Yeah. Nice.
Wait, should I share my whole screen like I did last time? I think that
It depends on, probably easier. And just zoom in on the things. And I think maybe this gives us a little bit, we'll see if this blocks anything of relevance, but it gives us a little just more real estate to work with.
Yeah, let me see if I can. Oh, I can't change what I'm sharing.
Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta like kill it and then redo it.
Present again. All right.
Oh, interesting. It always defaults back to that, eh?
Yeah. Okay. I think we're good. Let me just go on the repo first thing.
Cool.
Let's create a new. What are we gonna call this? Testing apps. I have too many test word things. I realize now.
Just do what I do when I create test accounts or test apps. Just keep on appending numbers and
Yeah.
like keep on incrementing. I think I just did a test account today, and I think I was at 700. Although once I forget where I got to in the 100 levels, I'm just like, okay, cool. I got to 650. I don't know what the next number. Like it's been a couple weeks, and I just like increment up to 700.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's a good approach to things. That's also like, but that's also not a good approach when you're talking about like passwords and stuff, because I know a lot of people just +1 the password, and then that's just like, you know how like if you like when you have to like change password every couple like months or something. I do this in school a lot, but it'll just be like just change the digit every time. It's like
That's
start
why.
at 10, keep going.
That's why password changing is like actually not beneficial to password security.
Yep. Exactly. All right. Let's open up a new terminal. All right. Which thing do we want to tackle first?
I think I think the way I had talked about it, but we can go in any specific any order you want. But I think the initial one would be I had suggested was how you're using it with like automated testing and like unit tests, but maybe the order, depending on how we're doing it, could be flipped to do like code level validation of like, hey, the different values that you're getting might be a better order there, and then getting into the unit test side, but whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I think
you need to
like that.
Zoom in a little bit too for folks.
Yes, I can make this a little better.
Yeah, I think it's not bad.
Is it good?
Yeah. Anyone viewing can always like hit us with a comment and tell us if you think we need to zoom in or anything like that too.
Yeah, fix anything. Why are we getting so many red lines now? I don't know what's happening. Okay, I'll leave it. Let's just see if it starts. I think it's start, but just gonna check package.json one time. Yep. Yarn start. It's not gonna work, right?
No, it looks like it's working. Oh, you lost your screen share.
Okay, I think this happens a lot. I think I'm pressing the stop screen share a lot of times.
Oh, because it's just like hovering there, right? In the middle of your view? Yeah.
Yeah. So like if I go down to the what do you call it? The taskbar, I think.
Oh yeah, you're not setting, you just left the placeholder in the your SDK key, I think.
Yes. I also need the .env file. So let's do that. And then, all right, I need a client SDK key.
Yeah,
And with that, I need to go to DevCycle. Wait, let me just log in and go to a. Yeah, I can go to a public thing here.
I mean, you can pull from any, like you can just create a new project.
Yeah, I was just going to just put it into a org that.
Yeah.
A different org. All right, we are in a different org. Nice, because I have a compromised key, and we love that. All right. Okay.
You just want the any client key, right?
React, and then just copy the key. Come here and paste it.
And this is how we get compromised keys in your test org? Well, no, wouldn't be how we get it, but yeah.
No, I pushed this org, like the
yeah.
on this org enough times. Because no interface element exists. Okay. Interesting. There's too many errors in this app.tsx file. You know what? Let's see if Cursor can find out what the problems are.
Just put it into YOLO mode and tell it to fix everything?
Oh, I should do that.
I don't know. I mean, we can see how YOLO mode works. I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet. It'd be nice. It'd be interesting.
I wonder if you need to point Cursor to our docs for something like this.
Something that I found yesterday was it was able to search a GitHub repository and then find out what context I was talking about and then implement that. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like, I would not have expected like Cursor to do this, but it was very nice.
Yeah. I got stuck with Cursor on I was telling you yesterday, I mean, you were helping me a little bit with my GitHub sign-off issues.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get Cursor to sort it, but then I ran out of Cursor credits. So I just was like, I haven't tried Windsurf. So I downloaded Windsurf and I literally just pasted the problem in and it just like YOLO'd the whole thing and fixed it. It was like pretty slick. Okay.
Interesting. You got out of credits? That's
I hadn't upgraded to Pro yet. So I also, while I was waiting for that, I also so I have upgraded to Pro now, but I was like, I'll try Windsurf. And Windsurf gives you like the full Pro kind of trial for like 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, nice. That's good.
Yeah.
That's nice. Okay. So
Okay, sweet, we got it working.
We got it working, but I don't think we have the variables on here. The example variables here. Oh no, we do.
Yeah, you just need hello togglebot, and then you're good to go.
They're all on. Yeah, we're on base variation. Let's go to spin variation.
And just see if it's hooked up.
Yeah. All right, you can spin. All right, perfect. Sweet. Nice. We're happy. All right, so this is a good starting point. But now we need, like, if we want in code, kind of overview of things.
Mm-hmm.
We need.
Yeah, I think fundamentally, let's say, what's the scenario? Like, you're implementing a new feature and you're trying to use feature flags. You know, from a code level validation perspective, like the most important thing there is just like instead of having to like fully see end to end, which may not be possible, especially if you're working on like back end stuff. How are you validating just that like you're getting the values that you expect, right, from a platform like ours? I think that's a good starting point of like understanding like that validation. And so what would you do? Like
getting values that you're expecting kind of would be your default value that kind of overwrites that, right? like imagine if I just like instead of false, I just like make this a string. It'll break things, but now actually it breaks a lot more things, but let's not break that. But yeah, I think it goes into like the typing of your like default value typing, right? That's one thing because you would want to see what's happening. Second would be like our generated stuff just to know what the default type should be. We have the generated we have the CLI to generate the variables. So I think that would be a very good kind of thing to add. So let's do that. I think I'll need to log in. So for those of you that don't know, we have a CLI which allows you to log in. So let's go to this, and then we're on my first project. And there's a lot of things we could do. My first project. Okay, so when you first start it up, your configurations are saved in your user.config file. And then I think you can just do repo and repo in it, and then I'll do the same thing just to make sure that this repository also has a .devcycle and a config. So it gives you all the information of what like your org is, your project, and everything is selected. If I remember correctly, I think it's
Generate types.
Generate types. Yeah, is it?
I think so. I don't think you need to do that. Is it like that? I'm not sure.
Let's try it.
There you go.
Wow, we got him. All right, so let's see what the generated types looks like. So we have the DVC variable types, which brings in. There's no export member DVC JSON. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, we should have that.
Are you on the right SDK version?
It should be on the newest. Let's see what is using here. 123. Oh, 134.1. Let's just up it up. 34.1. And then just run yarn one more time.
And and I guess what version of the SDK or the CLI are you running?
Oh yes, that is a good question. Let's see.
You got some fun things happen in the background there.
Yeah. DVC version. I'm on 5.16.
You mean to you're checking that out. Cool.
Let's see. What's the latest version of the DevCycle CLI? 4. Wait, what? How does that make? I'm on 5.16, and this says 4.
Or 520.2.
520.2 is the latest.
I'm guessing that just like indexed the wrong thing when you Googled it.
Yeah, NPM does not have the latest version for some reason. Okay.
I see it on our docs, and it links me to NPM for the 520.2.
Like this one? If you go here. Oh yeah, wait. What?
Yeah, here I can paste you in chat.
Oh no, it's because it's indexed at like as a version on.
Yeah, I think Google is just indexing the wrong one.
Yeah, 520.
Oh, that was public. Did I just post public comment of that?
Yeah, you did.
Nice.
All right. Let's just do that. Let's see if we get the latest version like this, or did I? I think I should have installed it NPM way. Yay! Everybody's learning about how to install our SDK or CLI and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, but in the meantime, let's talk about. Okay, 520. Nice.
Cool.
You know what I really like? I really like the new feature with number, and that has values from 0 to 10.
Yeah, is that schema? Hey.
Yeah.
And that's
And-
pulling from. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that if we want to. Yeah, but and kind of like the value there, I guess, as it relates
Yes.
to the stuff we're talking about. Yeah.
So variable types, and then we have actual variables here. So let's say if we were to, you know what? Let's use var2 because it has string stuff.
Mhm.
Bunch of different values you could use. So if someone were to use this, and then just call it const var2 equals use variable, but in here you need to use var2 or export var2 from DevCycle types. Oh, it's var _2, that's why. _2, and can I just, no, I can't. All right, import from DevCycle types. There you go. All right, so let's say if I try to put like true here,
Mhm.
it should, I don't think it should work. Oh, wait 1 second. I think there should also be, sorry, we didn't even generate this again. So let me generate this again. And we have that. I don't think, okay, this is, we can talk about that later.
Okay.
But there should be a use variable value. Let's see, generate dash help. So what do we have here? It just says generate. So types we got. I thought there was something for React as well, but I'm not 100% sure. But if you were to use something like this with a variable, which is a string variable, but you're giving it a true here, so you're trying to use it as a Boolean.
Mhm.
This will say it's a Boolean. But I was trying to get to var2. Trying to get somewhere else with that. I just think that it's not set up the right way, or I didn't set it up the right way.
So what are you hoping to see here?
I'm hoping to see an error that tells me that this is the wrong type
Mhm.
Of the value. Webpack's having issues. What all did we change? Oh no.
So it's from you running Yarn.
NP, yeah, I'm just gonna not yet run Yarn. Right. npm run.
Now you got it. Now you're getting the error. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Am I? Oh, perfect. There you go. Yes, this is exactly what I wanted. So
Basically, never forget to run your installs and updates.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, this if somebody's using it, then they'll see this error saying that you need to assign it to the proper type, which is hello, hi, hey. So this is one way of making sure you don't have any like typing errors, or even like if you mistype something, you will get the hey, you're not allowed to do this error. But oh, I see. I'm gonna move DevCycle. I'm gonna move this into source folder. Yes. Okay. I don't think this should change much. Okay. You can't have a number be the variable name. Interesting. but I have a feature named 22. All right, are we good? Yes, serving var hello. Now, let's talk about why we are even seeing what we're seeing in the generated types, right? So let me just do var underscore 2, var 2. And the types that we're seeing are because...
Or you mean not the types,
sorry.
like those allowable values?
Yes. Allowable values are because we have a schema set up here, which I didn't even know I had set up, but I like it. We have a schema set up with all of the available values, and then we're making sure that your code base only shows those values.
So I guess maybe for a brief thing here, like schemas as it relates to variables basically allow you to ensure that given the purpose of a variable, that we're only going to pass in certain values. So when you put in those, so for a string here, you're putting in those enum values, you're saying, hey, like when we actually set up a feature flag in DevCycle and you're able to change the values based off the different variations, configurations to pass them into your code, like into your app, these are going to be the only options that you're allowed to choose from. So if there's, something where maybe you're switching between different LLMs, you want to make sure that the endpoints are correct, or maybe you're creating some sort of JSON config for that has certain values and they need to be of a certain format and type for it to work correctly. You can create a schema, and that is like forcing what the platform allows as possible. And so from a code validation perspective, from what you set up in the platform, what you set up in code with the types that you're generating here, it's kind of making sure that everything is aligned as you'd expect.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. There are different types of schemas you can add. There's a regex. I'm not going to add it here. Let me add it to something else. Number with, or feature with number. What is the schema on this? Oh, it's just like 0 to 10. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just do site heading, because that would be nice. And then we're going to do regex. Now, what is something on the site heading that would be annoying to, like, if it changes?
Like, you don't want probably special characters other than maybe an exclamation, but you probably don't even want that on a header. Like, we were talking about like an H1 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I know this is like a super basic example, and unlikely that you'd ever set like a schema for this type of thing. But yeah, you probably don't want special characters.
Yeah, and also another thing I was thinking of is like, what if you make it too big and then it overflows into things like character count? If you want like only like few characters, so you could also do that. I don't want to create a regex right now though. Regex pattern for, you know what?
I mean, I don't think we have to. We can always just transition into we can always transition into how you might set up for like automated testing.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so first thing first, I think this is a good way of kind of having your kind of variable, like in code, your validation here. There's also the DevCycle VS Code plugin that we didn't talk about. I can bring that up quickly, and then find out where we're at. So yes, okay. So if I were to, let's just say var 2. Not variable usages, environment keys. Okay.
And so what are you trying to show here?
The possible values here of what and what the possible variations are showing at the moment as well.
Mhm.
So like you can have 3 different variations right now, which are variation on, off, and 3, because and then you can have on, off, or hey. Now these are your possible values being in your variations, which is different than allowed values of the variable, and kind of like showing that difference right now. Now you may be wondering, where is that coming from? Let's go to the feature real quick. Right.
We're showing us some really well named features.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah,
Super realistic, hypothetical example features and variables here.
100%. And it's turned off in development, so let's just turn it on and just save, submit change request. Sorry, I should have used something that was already using what we wanted. But okay, var off. We got variation off because that's what we're targeting off now.
But I think what you're going to show there is those possible values are essentially coming from those 3 variations that are set up for this feature. So that's like the universe of potential values that this variable may be delivered in code. So you have the 2 things here. Like the schema one is setting kind of like the only things that you can choose from, but that may not be exactly the same as the actual variations that are in play. So the variations that are in play here are these 3. They have these 3 different type, variations off of the text here. And then when you're in code and you're playing with the VS Code extension, it's going to show you explicitly like, hey, this is what may be passed as a string. This may be what is passed as a JSON value. And you can then validate from a code perspective, hey, is this actually going to work based off of the things that are, currently set up? Is this, is my code set up to accept this? Probably most relevant for, certain types of numbers in certain types of JSON. Maybe some strings, depending on how you're, what kind of string you're using. But
yeah, exactly. All right. Let's switch gears into testing this and how you would do that. So luckily, or actually, we have descriptions already. We have a description test already in here. And what it's doing is we have a mock of the use variable value. So let me show you what description looks like first. The description gets the use variable value, calls example text. Now, if you want to use this from DevCycle types, then you would have to do example underscore text as the variable, and then you will get you can pass in whatever the value you want. But not this way, you will actually get the typed variable. But what's doing here is, depending on the step, it'll get the message, and then there's a link to the SDK docs. Now, get message is just a switch case, which takes the string of step 1, 2, 3, and then default, and that's what we're doing. Now, this is a good kind of way for a automated test, because how would you actually test that your component renders properly in different variable values? So this is kind of the best way of doing it. You just, whatever your testing suite is, this is set up with Jest. You're just mocking the user variable value call and returning. So as you can see here, this gives you all of the values that we have set up in code, but you're passing that into the test.each is passing that into each test, and then you're returning that and making sure that you're getting the correct text, or that text actually exists. And sorry, it is actually matching the snapshot. And then snapshot has the test of what it should match. So it has the default step 1, 2, 3, and then it's just, it already has this of like, okay, what you should be expected to see.
So how do you think about that typically? Do you think about it as, let's say you're not using, schemas or, you're not using schemas, so it's not pulling in all these like types, and maybe you haven't fully set up all your variations. You don't know all the values. Like, what are you thinking? Like,
okay, so
should be putting in there as like values for a given test.
So one thing that I see is this variable is not actually using schemas. So that already checks the box of like, hey, you're not using schemas. But what you would want to do is, depending on your component, so your component is set up so that you pass in any string into the get message. And depending on the string, your message depends on what you pass in. So your switch case is what you would kind of set up your test as. So your step 1, 2, 3, and default is just the return welcome. So that's what you should be testing for.
I think maybe this example has some very specific things because it's like a switch case, right? Like you only have these 4 options. But let's say the string could be anything.
Yeah.
What would you recommend someone put in as like different values to test, or how should they be thinking about that? Because you don't want to. I assume you shouldn't be testing all possible permutations. You need to pick some things that are relevant.
Yes, I see what you're saying. I think what you're saying is we should have a toggle test because there are multiple variables and there are multiple. You're not testing permutations, but you're actually testing variations.
I'm just saying, if you don't know the universe of the things that are going to happen, how would you what would you suggest someone put in here? If I didn't know that the universe of values were default, step 1, step 2, step 3, but it could be anything, right?
Yeah.
It could be, the text could be anything. You'd obviously don't want to test an infinite number of strings here. So how should people think about that? How should people think about like what they should be testing when it could be anything?
Yeah, fair enough. I think the first thing that comes to mind is like when you're setting up tests, you want to see the happy path of like, what do you expect a user to always see? And then it's like, okay, your user seeing this, kind of, let's say if this only had like step 1 only, right? Like if it only had that. So it's like, okay, when you're on step 1, what should the user see? And it's like, this is what the user this is what you want the user to see. And then you'd be like, okay, but what if they're not in step 1? So it's like kind of thinking outside of the happy path of like, how can you actually break this, right? And then kind of using those as well here. So let's say if step 2 and 3 are not implemented, then that's what you would be like kind of adding that. But you don't need to add every single way of doing it. You just need to make sure that you cover the most of them. So let's say if it's a number, or if you are, I think one example that I can think of off the top of my head is like, let's say if you have a string, or if you have an array and you have to find where what element where an element is. So let's say you have an array of size 3. I'm just gonna write here, const array equals hi, hello, and bonjour. And like if you're adding tests for this, then you would be like, or if you're testing where each element is, then you can maybe do something like const index hi equals, or you're doing like a find item somewhere, and your index you would expect the index to be from 0, 1, or 2, right? Now what happens when the index is not one of these. So let's say if you're finding hey, then you're going to get a -1 here because it's out of the possible values. And that's what you need to test for. It's like, what happens when this is -1? What happens when this is like more than like for some reason, what happens, like the find index is never going to give you or it shouldn't give you a value that's higher than your size. But what if it does give you a value higher than the size? Then your test.each would probably look like you would have like -1 as your fail case, 0, 1, 2, 3, and then okay, this I'm just going to delete all this, but these are the tests that you would want to be testing, or maybe not all 0, 2, 3, 0, 1, and 2, but you would need to test at least 0 and like 1, and then you can check like what each value is giving, what outside of the scope is giving, what like outside of the array size or not an array is actually where you're getting off that.
Yeah, so I think maybe tell me if I'm wrong, but to summarize, like a brief summary of like the way to think about it is focus first on the happy path, like the core thing that you'd expect. Make sure that is tested. Make sure that that's like well covered with your tests, because I think we talked about it at least internally, but you want the core of what you're doing to not break and so if you think about that happy path everywhere, that's like a good first start. And then I think the other piece that you're saying is like make sure that you understand how it's going to potentially break or what the behavior is going to be. So test something that's like outside of expected.
Yep. Exactly.
So not necessarily testing for everything, but testing at least for, hey, what happens if I'm getting what I expect, and what happens when I get something that I completely don't expect.
Yep. 100%.
Cool.
And I think like it was nice to see that we already have this in here, so we can kind of always be like, hey, this is how we do testing or this is one way of testing your use variable value hook, and making sure that you're returning different values and checking if it works. And also other thing is schemas, to make sure that your value never goes outside of a set.
Cool.
Yeah.
So maybe do we think now's a good time to swap if we're trying to keep it relatively to the hour? Do we want to switch over to maybe like some manual QA, what that would look like? Like, let's say, you've done your code, you validated that it's all working, you've got your tests written and all this stuff. Now you're trying to get out into the wild. Maybe it's an engineer, maybe it's a QA engineer, but someone who's actually coming in and saying, hey, am I seeing what I expect when I'm going through these like different potential options?
Yeah, I think that's a good place to be now. I just want to check where. Okay, I just wanted the user ID. So we have the user ID here. User 123. Okay,
cool. Super realistic user ID. Yeah.
You know what? I'll change it to.
No, it's okay.
Fine. And then I'm just gonna restart the server just for like sanity.
Just to make sure. Yeah.
Just for sanity.
You don't want to be banging your head being like, why isn't this doing what I expected to do? And realizing that it never actually accepted your user ID yet.
All right. Let's go to the hello togglebot feature.
Yeah. So maybe at a high level from like a generic, because I think you're about to go into like what does DevCycle do here? Like how do we like do this in DevCycle? But from a generic standpoint, when you're coming into any feature flag platform to do like validation like this, the reason why you're pulling the user ID is you'd probably put like your user ID into a targeting rule, right? Like, and say, exactly. Hey, like if I flip that back and forth, like, what do I see? Like that's going to be exactly the generic.
and targeting to a specific user.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have an all users, which is considered like the fallback rule for in other platforms. But if I just be like Parth only, this is my targeting rule that I'm creating, and I'm going to give it a base variation. Submit this. Parth gets base variation. And then I'm just gonna force apply it because I have the ability to do that. Okay, and it changed now.
Cool.
Because I'm part.
What I expect there.
Yep.
But I think this is okay in development. But one of the issues here that you always have to be concerned about if you're doing this like on DevCycle or any other platform is, let's say what you're really testing, let's call it like whatever, the whole reason we're here doing feature flagging is so that we can test and prod, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where it's most accurate, right? Everything's a little bit different in dev and staging or whatever
100%.
other environment. So just going and modifying production targeting rules is potentially a dangerous thing, right? Like you don't necessarily want to be going and doing that. I know you got approval workflows going on here, so you can obviously double check and you've got like a bit of safety, but you were just overriding it. So you could have had a human error and you could have just like pushed this change to everyone.
100%.
So,
and it would just be like, what if I just did this and then I changed this to base, right?
Yeah.
Or let's say if I do this, right? And then if I just don't know what's happening. Like I'll just be like update, whatever. If I force apply this, I'm never gonna see what I'm supposed to be seeing.
Yeah.
So this is also like, we at DevCycle don't like testing like this, and which is why we have this amazing thing called self-targeting.
Yep.
And let's see what this is. So you have your user ID, and then sorry.
I think you need to update your user ID there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna write Parth update user ID, and then now I can select exactly what I want to see in each environment. So maybe in production, assume this is production and not dev. But if I just save it, it doesn't change any of these. I don't even need this anymore, but it doesn't change what everybody's getting. It just changes what I am getting.
Yeah. So the real benefit here is like you're getting the same effect, right, as what you were doing there. Like you're modifying the targeting rule. You're saying, hey, I just want to target myself, but you didn't have to futz with the rules. You didn't have to create a new rule. You didn't have to reorder. You didn't have this issue of like, hey, let's say maybe like a lot of our customers, they've got like a ton of targeting rules for various things, right? Yeah. Like you've maybe different like groups that you're doing gradual beta testing with. Maybe you have like this is a feature that's being developed over time, and you have different like configurations that you're delivering to different people. And so like, while your example here is very neat and tidy and the chance of human error is small, as things develop in your feature flagging program, it gets more complex, and the likelihood of like error just by slip up is higher. So like this feature is super nice in that like your blast radius becomes just your ID if you change something incorrectly.
And also like one other thing that you could do is like, let's say if I just do like premium customers, right? Or premium support customers. And then if I like just go in here, and if I'm like, hey, if their email ends with, and I just do at tapalytics.com. Can't type today. At tapalytics.com or at devcycle.com. I don't want this to ever change, but what if I am part of them? Or let's say if this is called like internal, right? Internal users. What if this is already setting something, but like this is getting base and everybody is getting base. Let's just make that as a change. I don't want to change this. I don't want to change this targeting or the targeting that somebody else has set up.
Yep.
And the other thing is, I also don't want to go in and create a change request. Like if you have change request set up, or like targeting. The way I see it is like targeting rules are always like set up for like you don't know like if you don't actually are touching this feature at all times. Like you don't know what like how it's set up or why it's set up in a certain way, and that's why you like kind of have to go and ask questions like, hey, is this okay or not, or can I do this or not?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where self-targeting becomes a lot easier. You can be like, oh, I'm testing this feature, just make sure that all of the variations here are good. Maybe there's a new variation, and then this is, I think it's fast, and then example text is step 3, and then this is true.
Cool.
I think that's how we do it, but
yeah.
Like there's a new variation that's not being targeted anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But what if I just want to go into self-targeting and see what that variation looks like? I can just go and create that, or give that as like my thing.
Yeah, and so we're obviously doing some pretty basic things here, changing some strings that kind of like affect, just kind of like this front end example app. But like, yeah, it can be something far more significant. These changes could be far more consequential. A lot of feature flags or feature flagging, like, major functionality. You want to make sure this stuff is working. You want to make sure it's not going to break. This idea of like, blending all of these things together of, hey, making sure that the code's getting what I expect, it's doing what I expect, making sure that, we're protecting ourselves with, the schemas and generate the types that we've got going on there.
Yeah.
Doing the unit tests of the different potential, like at least the things that we might expect from the variations that we're getting. And then obviously, here seeing the results either as like the engineer is building it, or maybe the QA user has to go in, or the product manager has to go in and like validate that it's working as I expect.
Yeah, or maybe you just want to make sure that text looks how you want it to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
very cool. Any other pieces that we want to touch on? I think we touched on most of the things we talked about at the beginning there. The only thing that you obviously can't show off in this example app that's very specific to DevCycle would be the debugger. But I think we've touched on most of the things. The only thing that we don't have time for here that you kind of have with your testing there, but maybe it's like something, I don't know, maybe you want to talk about. We haven't really touched on like end-to-end tests through the CI pipeline. Like,
yeah,
that's relevant, but that's like a whole other stream.
Yeah, I think end-to-end testing is it might be its own thing, just because there's like so much happening. But we can kind of go a little bit into it, or like maybe talk about our testing strategies on our end-to-end side.
Go for it. And yeah, obviously with a few minutes left, we don't really do this too much. But if anyone who's watching has any questions you want us to answer, we can always do some Q&A at the end. You can always just type into any chat, depending on the platform that you're on, I guess. But go for it with our testing strategy.
I think like the very base level test is like kind of making sure that when you create a feature, when you create when you change a variation, it shows up how you want it to. And kind of the way of doing that is like using our management API. And actually, let me just open up the management API so we can just talk a little about that while we have it open here. And then I guess the difference between the management and the bucketing API as well a little bit. But management API is used for changing or managing any features and variables on the DevCycle platform. So anything you can do on the dashboard. Bucketing API is actually testing bucketing, or testing your variable kind of evaluations.
Mhm.
So just going to quickly show that what it looks like if you have HDB enabled. If not, then you can just get a variable. Here's the key. Give it like your user kind of what the user is. Let me make this bigger, and I think I can just go like move more space on this as well. Yeah. Give it your user information, and then you'll get bucketed into like whatever variation is according to your targeting. And yeah, that will give you that. But yes, going back to the management API, you're able to create features, change variations, delete features, and making sure that they show up how you want it. That's kind of the base case of testing for us at the moment. There's more, but I'm just like not going too much into detail. But it'd be like, let's create a project, create a make sure we get all of the environments that we're using. If we're creating new environments, make sure those are there. Something you can see is like there you could list environments and get the SDK keys, and that's kind of what we do is like just make sure we get the SDK keys, test the configuration to make sure that this SDK config is showing exactly what we would want. So that kind of end-to-end tests are creating a feature to kind of delivering that feature of the whole flow. And yeah, I think just doing that on every deploy makes life a lot easier. Just getting that confidence of like, oh, things work, at least what you want it to do, like base functionality is there, even when you're adding something new or something kind of in that sense.
Yeah, so I think maybe trying to wrap in a tidy bow with a couple minutes left. What I think we've talked about a bunch here is make sure the happy path is good.
Yeah.
You know, I think the complexity, as is natural with feature flags and a whole bunch of different like conditionals, a whole lot of variations, a whole lot of permutations and combinations, is don't make life harder than you have to. Like focus on making sure the happy path is well tested, and like try to understand maybe a few core ways it could break and test for that. But like don't try to test every single permutation combination of all these things, because you'll be spending your life testing and not building. And at the end of the day, I think we're doing this because we want to get to continuous deployment, we want to be testing in production, we want to be moving faster. And so yeah, make your life easy, test the things that matter.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool.
And yeah, I think we can end off by kind of saying if you have any more questions or anything about what we talked about today, or even any ideas of what you want us to talk about, feel free to join our Discord and shoot us a message. You can message Kobe or myself, or just like,
or anyone. We're always happy to chat. Yeah. I'm head of product, Parth's an engineer. All of our engineers are happy to chat. So yeah, if you have questions about doing anything in DevCycle or just best practices, we're always happy to talk about any of it.
Exactly. But I think that's where we would end the stream today.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. And
this time, maybe a few less technical difficulties. I think we got through it pretty good. I think we're gonna keep on getting better.
Exactly. That's what it is, right? One day at a time.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone. See you next time.
Bye-bye.